They need no introduction. However, they are two of the top listing agents in our office, top agents in our office, let alone listing agents. Um, Real quick, I'd like each of you to kind of introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit, how long have you been in the business? What your listings look like, how many listings, how much production have you had last year, and what your goal is for this year. Jeff, do you want to start, please?
Sure. Next month, actually, next week will be 21 years I've been in the business. Last year surpassed two big milestones in my career, which was surpassing 1,000 closings, as well as over $250 million in closed transactions. Production last year was down a couple million. I was a little over 28 million. 19 was over 30 million. Average price point hovers around 400,000 for myself. Buyer seller mix, about 65% seller, 35% on the buy side of things.
Wonderful. 1,000 units. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. Jim, can you compete with that?
Of course.
So I've been doing this about 23 years, just a little bit longer than Jeff. So last year we did 26 million. Pretty much 29% was buyers. The rest listings. I gravitate towards the listings. I'm the listing agent on our team. This year, it's kind of interesting because this year, because me concentrating on listings, which is a real blessing, and I don't care what the market is, that's where you want to gravitate. It's always good. You pick up buyers, pick up listings off it always. And this year it's been kind of good. We're right now, as soon as we get between pending and closed, we're going to be about 8 million, 7,972 to be exact. And then I've got probably another 4 or 5 million that are signed up, ready to go on the market. So, so we're off to a good year. Average sales price last year was 419, and this year it's 421, which I guess it's a good number, but I've been trying to gravitate more towards the lower end stuff, the little condos. I don't care what the market is; those fly off the shelf, and it really helps to have that couple condos, 150,000 a whack. You get both sides of it, or you sell 3 of them. Now you're talking 15 grand a month. Not a lot of work. Anyway, so average sales price has gone up a little bit, but who knows? I don't pay attention to that.
Okay, awesome. Well, obviously you both are qualified to speak on behalf of what's going on in the market these days. A couple weeks ago, we hosted a class where we interviewed Fadi and Emily, and we focused on the buy side in this seller's market, right? Competitive offers, multiple offers, and how to best position yourself and your buyers to get your offers accepted. For this, we're kind of flipping the script. We're focusing it from a seller's point of view. So I want to talk to you guys a lot about the seller's perspective, both the listing agent, how you communicate with your sellers, how do you add your value, right? Because in a seller's market, people think they can do it themselves, right? Because houses are just flying off the shelves. And then also what you're doing on behalf of your clients to ensure that they don't just get the best price, but also the best terms, right? Because we know those are equally important. So just real quick, what are you guys seeing in the market from the listing? What has happened over the past 12 months, right? Think back 12 months ago, we thought the market was going to go kaput. We thought, oh, this is the correction. We're in for it, right? We'd been talking about it for a long time. And then it let up a little bit. Interest rates went down a little bit, and we've been gangbusters since January 1 or even before that. So Jeff, what are you seeing on the list side? What's changed?
In all transparency, it's just when you meet with sellers these days, it's almost just, it's more important than ever to kind of feel out of the gate. And I've always asked them, I always do a pre-listing questionnaire before I ever meet with a seller, but really just trying to gauge where they're at with the mindset of what they think their home value is. We're all seeing numbers that just don't make sense. I mean, just historically, things that you've been looking at, and really probably one of the biggest things I've changed a lot in my approach when meeting with sellers is what happened, what closed last, spring and summer is really not a true, I guess, a real accurate representation of what's happening in this marketplace today. So when doing, analysis, when meeting with sellers, really shortening that time frame, because, over the last 6 months, I mean, it's in comparison to the previous 6 months, it's just, they're two completely different markets. So really trying to shorten the window of just where things are at, because again, we're just seeing adjustments with every sale in every neighborhood and every complex. It's jumping up again, just not by, a fraction of a percent. We're seeing, a lot of changes. So again, it's probably been one of the bigger shifts that I've made in my approach when meeting with sellers. But again, really just getting their feedback on what they feel their home value is, because a lot of people feel that they can just throw any number out there, and sometimes they'll get it, sometimes they won't. But just really understanding their expectations going into the appointment.
Yeah, awesome. Jim, you and I have talked about, that value, right? As agents, you and I talked about this, and I see it with all the advertisement people are posting online and such. They're telling the story that there's no houses on the market and you can get absolute top dollar for your home in a matter of minutes. And, my fear about that is, are we shooting ourselves in the foot, right? Are we as agents basically telling sellers, hey, you don't even need me, right? There's no value in a real estate agent because houses just sell themselves. So what would you say to that? Because you go into a listing appointment and you're selling yourself, and you're trying to get a listing at a market commission at the same time educating them about what's going on.
Yeah. I guess, every market, I don't care what it is, buyers, sellers, it all has its challenges. Okay. And I can't tell you how many appointments I've been on this year where, hey, look, my neighbor knows somebody that wants to buy it. And what I always tell them is, when you want to get the best deal, you want to market it to everybody, get as many people through it as possible. So let's do this. Let's take a step back. We'll pre-market it, get everything all dialed in, ready to go. And then we'll reach out to these people, give them, the tour, give them everything, make sure they're pre-approved. And if they step up and give us the best offer, then great, perfect. If not, at least you're ready to go. And I always tell them too, that if they come through the house now and they don't know when you're going to go on the market and open up to the masses, they're going to drag their feet, and that's just going to hurt you, being the seller. Just going through all the pitfalls of it. I mean, it sounds great that the house is going to go up and it's going to get, they're hearing this from agents that are cold calling and talking to everybody. Hey, my neighbor's house sold. They had 10 offers. They waived the appraisal, the inspection. They picked their price. I mean, it sounds great, but I got to tell you something. In the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 properties where the highest bidder, after they had the inspection, they walked. And I don't know if it's buyer's remorse. They're buying at the peak. Rates have creeped up a little bit. So, I tell the seller, look, I'm sifting through 10 offers on each property. Okay. So you've got somebody that looks at offers all day long, every day, but I'm reaching out to the buyer's agent and I'm asking them, why are they buying a house? What's their motivation? I'm trying to figure out what their motivation is. If they have a big colonial that, if the motivation isn't there, hey, they sold their house and they have to be out X. Okay, great. These people are going to be homeless. They're motivated. Okay. So there's a lot of ingredients to this. And then just going through the whole marketing plan. We'll bring in the professional photographer, the drone. We're going to make sure you're safe. Let's talk about COVID first. It's a good opener to say, hey, look, if you do decide to put it up, this is the protocol we're using right now. We want you to be safe. Before all the showings on that Saturday morning, turn on all the lights, open up everything. After all the showings, when you come home, wipe down all the doorknobs. It's still real. It's still real. Okay. And not only that, but now you've got a common interest with these people. It's kind of a rapport building. Okay. And then what's the next step? And the next step, we just kind of go through it. When I get done telling them as far as negotiating, talking to all the agents, I tell them I'm going to market your property until the day it closes. I want to have that leverage of a backup transaction. Okay. We have a problem with the inspection or the appraisal. I want the leverage. Okay. When I am negotiating with the buyers, I'm also asking the one that we're going to pick when we get it narrowed down. I asked that agent, how quickly, if we go with you, how quickly can you do the inspection? I want them to do it ASAP, because if they try and renegotiate, I want all those backup deals to still be hot. Okay. To get somebody in there. The last couple of appointments, two of them last week that I went on, the one guy, and this was nice, the one guy just said, you do all that for 6%? And once again, showing the value. So now what? Guess what? Commission's been addressed. And I said, yes, that's all included. And I absorb all that. You know, I didn't want to sound excited, but yeah, I absorb all that. That's what I do. Okay. But I think if you show the value, because there's a lot of pitfalls right now, you need to kind of tell them some horror stories, what's going out there. And it's real. It really is.
Sure. So for those clients that have never sold a home before, you know, they maybe don't understand that an agent's work isn't just finding a buyer, right, and getting an offer accepted. It's getting it to the closing table, which, as you and I both know, it has a lot of potential pitfalls that you can stay ahead of. Jeff, you know, let me play the perspective right now where, again, houses are selling. You don't really need to do the professional photos and the floor plan and the Matterport, do you? I mean, you just kind of put it on the MLS and you have a bunch of showings, right?
And you only get one shot for a first impression. And when you're presenting things out there, I mean, it's regardless, it's all about creating the hype. It's all about creating the excitement. And it's just, again, buyers want more. So the more you can provide, the Matterports, the floor plans, the features, the updates, you know, the more that you can provide is going to help sell the property to the masses and get that much more, you know, interest in there. One thing, just taking one step back with regards to, you know, where we're at and, you know, trying to justify value to, you know, prove value to our seller prospects is, I use the analogy right now that you're hiring not only a marketer, an advertiser, advocate, and a negotiator, but you're also hiring an airport flight director. I mean, with the amount of showings, with the amount of offers that are coming in, if this is your first time at it, if you're trying to do a for sale by owner, I mean, people are getting inundated with showing requests, with offers. If they were to try to handle it on their own, you know, do they know the contracts? Do they know, again, the pitfalls where things are at? As Jim was saying, with regards to same thing that's happened to me over the past, you know, couple months here, where you get a fantastic offer and at the inspection, they don't even cite a reason. You just get the mutual release that's coming across. So over the past 2 offers that I've received, I've gone back to the highest and best offer, if you will, or the best termed offer, and have negotiated in a non-refundable portion of the earnest money deposit just to hold them accountable. And it's, of course, you try to aim for the entire deposit. However, I don't know anybody in any price range that's just willing to just balk at $2,000-$3,000. So really holding buyers to it, because there's no, I mean, people will make the best, greatest term, and then 2, 3, 4, 7 days later, when they do the inspection, there might be that other property that hops on, or they might start having that remorse of like, what in the good God did we just offer 10% above this price? What did we just do? And you got to hold them to it more than so.
Yeah. Jim was telling me how, you know, and I know a lot of agents on this call have experienced this on the buy side, right? Where the listing agent doesn't return your phone call. There's bad communication, right? And there's these memes going around of listing agents almost sitting on a throne waiting for offers to come to them. And it's kind of funny, but I bring this up because you never know who is going to be number 2 or number 3, right? And as an agent, you're going to work with these people in the future. So I know communication is key for both of you guys. And I think so many listing agents can take a page from that playbook, because again, just because you're receiving, you know, a bunch of offers doesn't mean those people you're going to, you know, ghost them, or you're not going to have to circle back to them with your tail between your legs and say, hey, the first one died, you know, are you still interested? Right. So you're still doing all the professional stuff. In fact, actually, it's probably more important because with COVID, pre-COVID, people might see 20 houses, right? They just schedule a whole weekend. Now, there's less homes on the market, and people don't want to do that. They don't want to go through houses that they don't think are going to be a solid offering. So when they see it, and I want to talk about your actually pre-marketing plan, when they see it online, they're critiquing it to decide if they want to go out during that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whenever it's going to start showing. So do you guys like coming soons? Do you take advantage of it? How has that been placed in your business? What day do you like to list? You know what I mean? Jim, do you want to start?
Yeah, I do. And honestly, to take a step back here too, all the marketing that I do, the professional photographer and the pre-marketing, that's how I close. Okay. You go on an appointment, especially this time of year and last month and the month before, the people call you in and they say, look, I just want to kind of know what I should do to the house to make it show better, to get top dollar. I'm going to put it on in a month or 2 months or whatever it is. Oh, you're gonna put on in a month. Great. Okay, perfect. Because what I'm going to do today is walk the property with you and look at it through the buyer's eyes. We'll go room to room and I'll tell you what you need to do to make it ready for the photos. Then we'll schedule the photographer to come in. Then my assistant will sit down and do the virtual tour and do all the websites. And then we'll start networking with agents. And then we'll put it up on, so let's try and figure out a date and then back it up. Okay. And then start it on a Saturday and we'll pre-market it through social media. But it kind of helps. And not only that, I tell them, look, so if you go my route, if I'm interviewing against other people, I say, if you're going my route, if they haven't said anything about other agents, I say, well, what I want to do for you is start working for you today. Okay. Meaning that I'm going to let you know if I'm going to set you up on the MLS for your competition. So if one comes up for sale that's yours, I'm going to let you know about it. If all of a sudden a lot of homes come up for sale that's your competition, we want to get you in front of that. We might try and kick up on the market date. Okay. And then meanwhile, we take the photos and we get everything all ready to go. So when it's ready to go, all the buyers have already virtually gone through it. And it's a second showing, and it's safer for you. So what I'm trying to do is put together a timeline because, hey, I'm spending money with the photographer. So we're going to sign a contract and post date it. I mean, I've got probably 8 post dated contracts right now.
So when you're meeting with the seller, it's not about, hey, let's get it up this weekend. It's let me take that objection. Let me take that timeline and work backwards to tell you why we need to sign today. Yeah. Right. Because you want to lock that listing in, even if it's not going live for a month. You've got that prep, you've got that plan with them. And then it culminates with your photos, which you then start pre-marketing it or continue the pre-marketing, right? In order to put, you said something earlier, the first showing, right? Online is the first showing these days, right?
Right. 100%.
So
what I'm trying to do is push them into a corner. Either we're signing stuff, or if you keep pushing, they're going to tell you why, and then you address it. Okay. Well, we want to go for sale by owner. Okay, great. How long do you want to try that for? 2 weeks? Okay, let's post date it. So that all these agents that call you up and want to list your property, you can say, hey, look, if you got a buyer, bring them in. If not, I've listed with Jim DiMora. Let's stop it, because and I know in this business, you let it go and they'll go to the supermarket, wave a stick, and they'll hit 4 real estate agents. Seriously, it's happened to me.
Yeah. So Jeff, what day do you like listing? Do you like utilizing the coming soon feature? How does your timeline kind of look like?
Yeah. I haven't done this yet, and I was a little frustrated when I was trying to actually schedule a showing a few weeks ago, and I didn't realize that, the coming soon, it's 5 business days that you are allowed to before showings to take place. So this property came on the market on a Thursday, and the first showing request I could make was the following Thursday. So I reached out to RealComp and I said, what's the story? What is it? And they said that they don't count Saturday and Sunday as a business day. So that was something that was interesting. In my professional opinion, I think to go through the course of a weekend and not allow one showing to take place, I don't see there being any benefit to doing that. But again, to coming soon, I think at the very minimal, it's important to at least have at least a 24-hour, coming soon, just to at least bait the waters, but at the very least. From a day of a week purposes, again, it just seems that typically more often than not, Thursdays are going to be the start of the weekend. So, if you're going to let things that are going to start to pop and let showing requests go, start at Thursday, at the very least in the evening on Thursday, and then just allow showings to roll Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, if you can do it, again, it really doesn't make a difference, honestly, whether it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday anymore these days. I mean, everyone's paying attention. So I think at least getting 24-hour notice, regardless of what day of the week, unless it's just not on the weekend, I think, again, it's just let the showing start anything after Wednesday, just heading into the weekend.
Got it. So I know you two are detail oriented. So I'm always trying to think of this from the flip side, from a buy side, right? So if your listing goes up, you've probably worked with your seller and blocked off times in showing time where they do not want showings, or where they don't want any showings until start of. I recently saw in showing time you can schedule, I think, as early as 8 a.m. and as early as 9 p.m. And that was a little bit of a shock to people when their agent doesn't block out certain times. So as a listing agent, you want to communicate with your seller what that means when you go on the market, right? And you want to talk about that time frame so that they're able to set with you the expectation that this is the times that you want to show it, right? So that when showing requests start coming in from a buyer's agent, you're not having to cancel and reschedule them, right? So what do you tell a seller in this market? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they're just planning on being out of their house. What are they supposed to do? Jim?
Yeah. So
do you have them move into your basement?
I'm sorry?
Do you have them move into your basement?
Yeah, sure. What I've been telling them, as far as the pre-marketing goes, I mean, I've done it on Real Comp, maybe twice, maybe. Okay. But not for long, just like what Jeff was saying, maybe, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
I typically like to put it on a Thursday night or a Friday, only because now it's going to go to all the saved searches and then set it up for the weekend. But what I always tell them is that, let's start showings on Saturday morning, and I get it okay with them. And I just do going shows from 10 to whatever it is. The property I had this weekend was from 10 to 6 o'clock. Okay. And the whole family just was out of the house. They went to the park. They went to, I think, their mother's house. The other thing too that you got to watch with Showing Desk is I tightened up the showings. I think this one over the weekend, I did a half hour, because if someone goes in there and does a 2-hour showing, no one else can get in there. Okay. I kind of like the half hour, because in this case, in this property, there's a line of people, okay, that were waiting for the next one. And it's that kind of fear of loss type of thing, just getting more people through it. But pre-marketing that I do is through social media. And I know for a fact that I'm friends with a lot of real estate agents. And I always tell the story that I had one not too long ago in Northville Hills, where I told the people, let me pre-market it through social media. I know you're not going to go up for 2 weeks. And we did that. And what came to the surface was the buyers that ended up buying my listing, they were matter of fact, they wrote an offer on another property that worked, it had a roof and a kitchen. It worked, but they saw my pictures, they stopped, they waited for mine to hit, and they came in and they bought it. So it kind of froze, had we waited the 2 weeks, now this person, they've had the inspection already. Maybe the appraisal's been, they're tied into it financially.
Got it.
So it kind of puts a hold on things.
Sure. Jeff, how do you work with your sellers to set proper expectations so they're thinking the process as smooth as possible, yet you're also opening it up to be able to show as much as possible?
Yeah, and again, listing 2 places, listed one this morning and one this afternoon, and again, both of them are pretty much just in the mindset of let's showings start Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We haven't put a highest and best into there, but it goes without saying we're going to have it. And I think probably one of the biggest things that I've underutilized, that I've started using over the past 30 days, is really utilizing the realtor remarks section, where typically in the past, I've always just copy pasted whatever's in the general public and really just putting specific instructions. And that's critical when you're getting multiple offers. And, again, having an offer sheet on what the summary is of the offers you're getting is huge. And specifically putting that into the realtor remarks, letting people know that when they hop into, this listing that I'm speaking of that I listed this morning, when they hop in there and see that they can't schedule anything after 7 o'clock on Saturday night, it says right in there, seller is going to be reviewing all offers on Sunday morning. And again, just letting people know upfront what's going on. But yeah, pretty much if it's under 3,000 square feet, I'm reducing the showings. We were at 45 minutes for a while, but bottom line, we've dropped it down to 30 minutes now. And it's just when you have just a limited amount. And the other thing that I've also started doing too, and I just came across this where we had a couple inquiries on a few of our listings, and I couldn't schedule a showing on my own listing. So I think it's critical that when you list it, block out an hour on one of those days, just so that you can actually show your own listing, because it's a little it's being a little hypocritical when again, we're only allowing one showing, but you're inside the house during a showing or whatever the case may be. So sure. Again, block out some time for yourself and for your team to show a prospect.
Yeah, for sure. You said something that I really like, because as a listing agent, as an agent, we talk about in the coaching and buyer's agents, right? If your client's interested, you're on the phone, you're reaching out to the listing agent, and you're saying, hey, what's important to your seller? And as a listing agent, obviously you have a responsibility to communicate to those agents. But if you're having 35 showings, it's impossible. Your phone's ringing off the hook. And it's not about being disrespectful. It's just about being, efficient with your time. So what you said, Jeff, is if you're going to make it a point as a listing agent to include in the agent remarks what's most important to the sellers, right? If they need 60 days occupancy, right in there, right? If they really want to take that Tiffany chandelier, make sure that that's loud and clear, so a buyer's agent can make sure that they include that in an offer, right? Or whatever else is important to them. You're going to try to put everything that's pertinent for that buyer's agent to put together an offer. You're going to put those in the agent remarks, right?
Absolutely.
And then also if there's a deadline, or if you plan on being a deadline.
Right.
Yeah. So I like that. Not just copy and pasting the same thing that's in the buyer's remarks. Okay, Jim, showing start. It's a little bit of a crazy house. You start receiving an offer. You receive a first offer on a Friday, and they ask for a response by 6 p.m. that night, right? They're trying to, they come in strong, and they're trying to bully their way. Hey, accept our offer because it dies at 6 p.m. But you've got a lot of showings, no other offers in hand, but you've got a lot of showings lined up, and you anticipate other offers. What do you do? How do you communicate to that? Or do you nip it in the butt to begin with?
Jeez, that's a tough one. Once again, I would use that. Hey, look, like the property I had over the weekend, there's 50 plus showings. How all these agents have their people ready to go, unless it's a complete. Obviously, it's not my decision to be the sellers. Okay, so unless it's what they call a Godfather, an offer you can't refuse, where it's cash and there's a $50,000 non-refundable EM. It would just have to just be crazy stupid to do that. Otherwise you got to, I can't call 50 people and stop the showings. I'm going to have 50 people very angry at me. I've had a couple over the weekend that put a deadline on it, and I reached right out to them and just said, look, we've already, at that point, we already had offers. So, which brings up the next point. A lot of times when these buyer's agents call you and want to know what's the occupancy, in the human nature, they're going to ask me what's the highest one? Where do I need to be? I don't want to do this. I don't want it to be a peeing contest because everyone's getting wet. So what I always say is, hey, look, what they're doing, the offers that came in, they're restructuring them right now. So if I told you they're at here and then you come in a hair above it and you don't get it, but then I followed up with, how people are, they're waiving, the appraisal, they're waiving the inspection, they're They're giving free occupancy. I'm tailoring it to what my people would be. And in all fairness, I don't know until a lot of these agents, when's the deadline? 7 o'clock. They send it to you at 6:59 because they don't want you to do that. So but you got to be with these backup buyers agents. You got to kiss their butt now, because this market isn't always going to be like this, and they'll remember. And the one that I had, we had 10 offers. I called up 9 people after the fact and thanked them. And it was, what came to the surface was, they said, thank you for calling me. I said, most agents don't do this. And they took the time, they wrote the offer. Some of these people wrote a ridiculous offer, and they were the runner up. I feel for them.
Yeah.
I feel for them.
Yeah. So
Jeff, if you don't mind jumping in, Matt, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, I don't know about you guys, but some weekends I like to have off. So what are your thoughts about putting in the agent remarks, like all offers will be reviewed 9 a.m. Monday morning? I mean, why is it such a rush the first weekend to have, the sellers make a decision?
That's a great, so Steve asked a good question. So Jeff, pretend on a Friday you receive a great offer. You've got tons of other showings scheduled. Do you set the expectations like, hey, we really appreciate your offer at this point? If you'd like to revise your deadline, that would be okay. We're going to actually accept offers through 8 p.m. on Sunday. And I'm going to meet with the seller on Monday morning and make a decision, which we'll announce at X whatever time. So you're spelling it out so you don't have 50 agents bugging you. Do you have a decision? Do you have a decision? Right? How do you handle that?
And again, I always try to push everything. And just a real simple explanation is for me to try to be, for me, and I'm transparent with all my clients, between our 3 daughters, my wife, and family time, most importantly. It's just, for me to be trying to sort out 5, 6, God knows how many offers on my phone. I want to print these things out. I want to be able to exactly go over a line item by line item. So just the importance of just saying, listen, I'm going to be in the office Monday morning at 8 o'clock. And at that time, that's what I can best be focused 100% on achieving your goal. If you do get that unicorn offer that comes through, that's just too good to be true. I will tell you, sometimes if it is too good to be true, sometimes it really is. And so if somebody's trying to force an offer to be accepted prior to, there's one real simple thing that will call, that will find out how serious they really are. And that's just coming back with a non-refundable earnest money deposit. And if you're going to be taking it off the market and just flushing down the toilet, any other potential offers, showings that are coming through, something even better, if they're not willing to upfront a non-refundable, it's absolutely positively, I suggest to my sellers, it's why would you do such a thing, regardless of how good it is. And if it is that good, you know what, we'll revisit it Monday, whenever, to review.
Got it. So I know a lot of agents, they don't care for the term highest and best, right? I've seen it kind of a switch to just offer a deadline. So, in, let's say not such a strong market, an agent might submit an offer and then actually go back and decline, revise that offer to get it even a little bit better. Would you suggest buyers agents in this market, right, submit an offer that is really the best their client would be willing to offer, because they're probably not going to get an opportunity to kind of negotiate? Or, do you think that, if they submit an offer and then they have a conversation with you, that there might be an opportunity to revise it, to tailor it to the seller, what the seller's looking for, or what the competition's coming in? Like, what's your mindset in that, Jim?
Yeah, right now, majority of the properties are multi, but one of the properties that I sold here in Northville, they're moving to Arizona, which the market's hot there too. And I referred them to a KW agent, and they wrote an offer on a property, and the one that I referred to him, he just said, how many offers? They were the only one. Eventually, this is going to be like, what's that game? Musical chairs, where all of a sudden it's going to be, picture yourself a buyer. You go out and you look at properties, and you write an unbelievable offer, waiving the appraisal inspection, free occupancy, you don't get it. The next weekend you go out and do the same thing. The next weekend, you do the same thing. Rates are creeping up, values are going up. At some point, these buyers are got to go, and you're going to get stuck with, I mean, I know at some point I'm going to get a listing where I'm going to be like, okay, bring on the offers. And then I'm going to be like, where are the showings? Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen this week, next month, but eventually it's going to happen. I mean, all my listings right now, 6 months. I don't want to be, you know, holding, not having the chair to sit down on because it's going to shift, you know? So, I mean, I guess if for the buyer's agents, I mean, first off, you know, how many offers do you, I think that's a legitimate question. How many offers do you have? And then tailor it to that. And now you could advise them, you know, make it your highest and best. And if I was a buyer's agent and my client was kind of skittish from it, I'd say, okay, that property for 200,000, if there was no offer, where would you come in at? 190? Okay, we're coming at 190. Where would you cap it off at? Well, 197. Okay, we'll do an escalation clause up to 197. You weren't going to go any higher than that. So if you get it, good. If not, if the highest offer is 190, you get it for 191. So it's the market's evolving. We just got to kind of just, you know, watch and just, you know, react. And please, this is what's nice about Keller Williams. I mean, me and Jeff, and there's a lot of agents here going through a lot of this stuff on a daily basis. If you ever have a listing or a buyer that you come to us, we've probably gone through the problem. Seriously. Yeah. You know, we could walk you through what we've done.
Yeah. Jeff, an agent calls you and they're submitting an offer and you've got a deadline and they say, you know, how many offers do you have? What is it going to take? You know, what is your, what do you reveal? What do you don't reveal? What questions do you welcome? What, you know, like how put yourself in the shoes of a buyer's agent. What are they going to do? How are you going to help them win?
You know, I guess the thing that I always phrase, I guess on the flip side to any buyer is, all right, great. You want to offer X. At what number would you be disappointed, let down that if you could have bought it for Y, what would you pay up to? What would you be let down for? I understand you want to come in at this offer, great. But if you want to put it in that escalating clause that says that, great, you're up to this. And that's just a way to, you know, again, it's never easy to ever be on the receiving side as a buyer to tell you that you didn't get the offer. But the last thing you want them to do is just have any kind of remorse or saying, good, I should have offered another 5 grand, another 10 grand. If that was what the magic number was, you know, so be it. But again, just really setting that with the buyers that everyone has their perception of value, but just what are they willing to pay up to, and make sure that you get that cleared up. Just because the last thing is if they find out in 30 days from now that that property is sold for $1,000 over what they were offering, who are they going to be more upset with? The seller, or geez, Jeff, why didn't you give the advice that we should have done this or that? So again, really just educating your clients. But again, when it comes to getting an offer on a listing, you know, more often than not, and I've started doing this more, is just doing a little research on the agent, doing a little bit of research on the mortgage broker as well. And I'm not saying that there's not great new agents that are in this business that have it, but if you have several offers and just because you sell 100 homes a year doesn't mean that you're a great agent. It's just, you want to have a little bit more background on just exactly who are you dealing with, what kind of experience, what kind of knowledge. And one thing that's just, it can't hurt to do this, but whoever the lender is, whoever the bank is, the importance of them really reaching out to the listing agent and just saying, hey, listen, I just want to let you know, more than just an email, more than just the piece of paper that you see in front of you, let me go into detail of exactly how well qualified these buyers are. Let me tell you what I've already collected on them. And it blows me out of the water that I think I've maybe had one lender reach out to me directly on any offer that's came across on my listings over the past year. And it's just, I mean, they're part of your team and they got to be, I mean, this is a tag team effort, and you got to be having your people, and even if it's your client's bank or whatever the case may be, it's a great time to start a relationship. Reach out to them and say, listen, I know we've never worked together, but we're both working towards a common goal, which is to get our clients this house, and let's get in on it. But again, it's just communication is so critical. And again, it blows me out of the water how many offers I get just through dot loop with no email, no text, no phone call. And if that's the way that we're starting off this transaction, this communication is just an email, and I mean, just through dot loop or transaction desk or whatever the case may be, I want to make sure that we're on the same page and that we can have a good communication. So it's, again, it's mind blowing how many offers I get that there's just no follow up other than it getting sent over. And
Yeah.
it's just, again, communication's a very big key part of the puzzle.
Yeah. Have either of you guys ever received a call from an agent upset that they didn't get a response, only to find their offer was in your spam box, right? That you didn't see because you didn't look, and it was just sent to you, like you said, through transaction desk, dot loop, DocuSign, no phone call, no summary of the offer, no ask for, confirmation that you've received it, right? I know people are on the go and they're trying to write offers and the run, but it's super important to give the details of that offer, right? And like you said, Jeff, I'm blown away too how few lenders make those phone calls. On Friday or Saturday morning, I submitted an offer and I included the lender on the email with the offer. And she called me and said, "Hey, can I call them?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can. Thank you for asking. Do it." And she followed up and said, "Hey, I just left them a message." I said, "But just the act of you doing that, I know carried a lot of weight, and our offer was accepted." So that
And
yeah,
even if the agent that you're writing an offer on doesn't have an offer submission sheet, create one for yourself. Send over a summary, send over an offer summarization sheet for your offer. I mean, that's the stuff that sticks out. Whenever we're writing an offer, more often than not, there's not an offer submission sheet, but we're sending over ours just with a summary and a breakdown. So it's as clean cut as possible. And in addition to that, always sending a video introduction through the email as a follow-up to the agent, just because, again, we're all getting so many emails or text messages and things can be taken out of context. You want to put a little bit more, it's not a guarantee, but it sticks out when you're sending a personal video just to say, "Hey, listing agent, just want to reach out and let you know about my clients," and just give a little more detail. Again, that's the stuff that's going to stick out amongst the masses in the flood of offers coming over.
Yeah. Jim, when you're receiving 10 offers from 10 different brokerages and you have 10 different purchase agreements, right? That's a lot of information to try to pull out. Like, where is there, and they're all written a little differently, right? So any help that they can give you is going to help you communicate to your sellers.
Yeah, going back to the listing appointment on the value end of it, I explained to them, I say, look, when an offer comes in, technology is fantastic. I can send you a form and I said, when offers come in, I'm going to come and sit with you. I'm going to do a net proceed sheet. So, this offer of X, you're going to be walking away with this at the closing table. Okay. And I'll go over each offer with them. And honestly, each one of my offers, they're in the corner there. I open them up and it's highlighted how much they're putting down, the earnest money, what they're asking for. So I'll go through all of them with them, and they know that I've gone through them because each one of them's got my notes, my highlighter, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. That that Tiffany chandelier, we want to make sure that's excluded. This is where we got to exclude it now. Okay, the occupancy. I want them to know exactly how many days they have after the fact, when the closing is, and I go with a calendar and I say, look, does all this work? And then we sign it. I mean, I've had clients that, they say, "Oh, I want to do it. I've read contracts. And I send it over to them, said, we'll review it. And then we'll go paragraph by paragraph. I sent it to this guy and literally it was 2 minutes later, it was back in my inbox. And I'm like, you're the quickest reader. I want to go over this with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's important, right? Yeah. We can't expect to send over an offer and have the seller, they're not an attorney, they're not a real estate agent, so absolutely. We're giving it to them and for them to essentially make the decision, but we're providing all the information and we have to dissect it. So anybody who thinks as a listing agent, it's just all rainbows and cupcakes, there's a fair amount of work that goes into this, right?
Yeah.
So on that note, comparing offers, right? And we're approaching a time limit. So, but on that offers, there's only so much that a buyer can offer, right? I mean, price can only go so high. Jeff, I'm curious right now, are you pricing homes initially at a price that you're very confident that it would appraise at? And any offers above that, are you looking for that delta to be covered in an appraisal guarantee?
Yeah, and it's all negotiating. It's just, and property I listed yesterday, again, realistically, do I think this property is going to sell for 450 to 475? Absolutely. However, are there three comps in this neighborhood that have sold between 415 to 425 over the last 90 days? And in the seller, before I ever met with them, was just like, you know what, we want to list this thing for nothing less than 450. After we went through the discussions, we reviewed everything. I said, listen, from a negotiating standpoint, here's the thing. I don't question that you're not going to get an offer at 450 if you list your home at 450. But once the appraisal does come back, and you educate them about the appraisal, but once the appraisal comes back, if it appraises at 425, you lost some leverage in the negotiating process, because you know what, that buyer offered you your list price. Now that buyer's going to have potentially some leverage to come back and say, all right, let's split the difference. Let's do whatever. Whereas you list it at that 425, you get up to that 450, it appraises at 425. Again, the leverage, in my opinion, swings back to the seller to be able to come back and say, listen, I wasn't the one who created this purchase price. You were the one that, and what are you going to do to honor the offer that we've accepted?
That's interesting. I like that because, people think like we're on this ride of the market, right? So they want to price it where it's going to be in 30, 45 days. But, we have to look at the history, because those comps, whether, something's worth what someone else is willing to pay for it, but it has to be justified by an appraisal, right? We know that. So the only way the market continues to increase is with cash. Jim, what are the other terms that you're seeing? I mean, I've heard of some crazy stuff, but you've got, free occupancy, you've got appraisal guarantee, you've got crazy people waiving inspections maybe, or just making it where it's hey, inspection will be pass or fail. We're not going to ask you for things. What are some other things that are creative, or all of those things fluff, and it really comes down to the net? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it does come down to the net. The one that I had, these people had a really nice hot tub they just bought. They planned on taking. Okay, the other offer was $5,000 higher. Okay, and there's just so many different variables. They had a guarantee of 10,000. The next offer at 280, it had a guarantee of 15,000. Okay, but they were given free occupancy and didn't want the hot tub. So it's that, once again, that's why I like to sit down across from the sellers and say, look, this is, I don't know the value of a used hot tub, but give it, whatever. But the free occupancy, I like that because, that was going to net them roughly another $5,000. Okay. That didn't have to appraise. It wasn't like they're putting 5,000 on it. And what I told them too is that I don't care if the appraisal is waived. I've got one that's waived $25,000. I'm still meeting the appraiser, and I'm trying to get it up as high as possible, because if it becomes a huge gap, that buyer could walk. And now we're 3 weeks deep in this. So those backup offers, are they still there? I'm not afraid of putting it back up, but I mean, it would be kind of tough to get it back and explain to people what's going on.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Yeah, but each one's got its, pros and cons. You just got, once again, that's why I sit down with them and I make my own little sheet up top and I'll go through it with them. But, less risk sometimes is good,
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, before you've got to go, anything that you've seen that you've put in on the buy side, on the buyers that you've helped, or anything you've seen on the list side that was creative you'd never seen before, or that could give you that one up for a buyer's offer?
Yeah. And again, the net is obviously, I guess at the end of the day, it's all about the net. However, I've seen it, I've done it and seen it on the other side of it, where the purchasers agreed to pay for the transfer tax. They've agreed to pay for the title policy. And again, it all,
Hey, how are you?
the net is the net. It's just a different thing of looking at where things are at. And, fast forward 6 months, a year from now, again, hopefully we're going to be north of where we're at currently with inventory. However, is it going to start to be a trend that you're going to see buyers start to be, you're going to be foregoing any kind of commission that's being offered by the other broker, and our buyers going to be paying our 3% commission just to be as competitive as possible in this market? Again, no one has that crystal ball, but is that going to be next? Is it going to be the buyer that's going to say, you know what, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, yeah, you know what, we're going to forego, that's an instant 3% that could be, or whatever the number might be, but it's just, is that something that's going to change if inventory continues and competition? No one knows.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jeff, I know you've got to go because you're hosting another thing. I really appreciate you giving us your thoughts and your feedback. Hopefully one of you guys has a buyer for Jeff's new listings. He's got 2, so look them up. They'll probably be gone by Sunday. Jeff, thank you so much, and appreciate you.
You got it. And hey, just one quick one. Tanji asked a question on here about waiving inspections. Just in my professional opinion, at the very minimal, you could always just say that, you know what, the purpose of the inspection is nothing more than for informational purposes. However, there's going to be nothing that's going to be requested formally after it. Regardless, even if it's new construction, no home's perfect. So it's just from a fact-finding mission, but to waive it, that's one blessing I just can't ever give after doing this for as long as it is. It's always important to at least have a physical on that home, at least knowing what you're walking into, what you're purchasing. But that's just one thing I would never encourage anyone, regardless, to do.
Yeah. And the flip side too, on the listing, I think I'd be scared of an offer where they said they were waiving that altogether, because that gives me a little bit of hesitation.
Yep.
So thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you.
See ya. Take care.
Jim.
Good job, Jim.
Good job.
Jim, you got the spotlight now. So you've reviewed the offers, you've sat down with the seller, right? You've understood what's really most important to them, and you've explained all the ins and outs of the offers, because it might not just be about the highest price. It might not even be about the highest net. It might be about the flexibility, right? I say this to sellers: if someone brought you a big duffel bag of cash, but you had to be up tomorrow, would you be able to do that? And, some people would say, yeah, I'd figure it out. Some people say, no way, right? So they need that occupancy, or they need that period of time, or they need to find the next house, right? So you're evaluating that with your seller. What do you do next? Do you announce it to everyone that you do have a phone call? Do you not say anything until you get that deal bottom lined? Because some people change their mind, right?
Yeah, you know what, 100%. And the one that I had over the weekend, there was they're all coming in about the same. Now, when I price a property, I always say, hey, look, if we get one offer, can I meet the appraiser here? Because I'm going to meet the appraiser no matter what, unless it's cash. Okay. I'm going to meet the appraiser. Can I get that to stick? And what I found, and I don't care what the market is, the closer you get it to where it's value, you'll get more people through it. And more people through it, you get higher, not only monetary, but your terms. Okay. So all the offers were coming in about where it was. I mean, they wanted to go 375. And I said, look, the highest comp is probably going to be like 355, 360. Let's go 365. Okay. And if you want that 375, the market, first off, I'm not guaranteeing anything. Look, I said, the market's going to tell you very quickly what your home's worth. If it's worth 375, great. But if we do that, it's going to be more than one offer. And now the appraisal should be waived. Okay. So they're all coming in about 370, 375, 380. Okay. Then we get one that had an escalation clause up to 395. Free occupancy. The terms of this thing were, so I went over all of them with my client. That's the one they gravitated towards. Before I called everybody up, I said, look, here's the highest offer. So your client will be paying this. Can you have the changes made and send them back? They changed their mind once they found out where they're getting it at. So the other buyers had no idea that they were the bridesmaid, So I went to them and got a bottom line. Then I went and made the phone calls to everybody, thanking them. And by the way, there's 2 that were very close. So inspections, going back to like what Jeff was saying, what you were saying, I don't like to see them waived, but I do like to see them ASAP. And I went to the agent and I said, look, how quickly can you get your inspector in here? And we're having the inspection, I believe, tomorrow. So, I mean, so once again, I want to keep those back burners warm so they don't, not another weekend of properties come up and I lose a good buyer. Okay. We'll know very quickly. And I also said the deadline for you to let us know, because the purpose of the inspection is look for a major problem. Okay. You're not going to go home and read the report and find out that there's mold or foundation problem. You'll know about it that day. So we want to hear about it. So just, just trying to bulletproof it. I mean, that's all we really can do.
Yeah.
But once again, value, keep giving them value.
Would you say the way that you transact that after its bottom line is any different in this market than it is in a regular market? I mean, I know some listing agents or some sellers right now are a little bit arrogant, like, oh, walk, like I'm going to hold my own. I'm not going to let you ask for anything from the inspection report because we had a whole line of buyers lined up. Or do you try to, if it's legitimate things during that inspection, try to keep it together so you don't have to go back and start over, because burden of hand, right?
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And I always tell them, look, these people go away. If we get the same terms, they're going to find the same things. Each one's case by case. Sometimes you get a seller that's very handy or very proud of his house. Oh, I'm going to fix that, and if the number is aggressive enough, I mean, look, you're making these people, they were hoping to get 375. They're getting 385 plus free occupancy, which nets them a 390 offer. Plus they get to keep their hot tub, which is another, I don't know what a used hot tub is, but you're netting $10,000 and now you're over that hurdle. So even if it's $1,000 of nitpicky stuff, pick and choose your battles.
Yeah, exactly. I love that you said that. It's being big picture, right? You got them, you reinforce the fact that you got them well over what they initially had wanted to, right? Because people tend to get, they tend to get a little bit, that they deserve that, or that, it's going to happen if they put it back in the market. We know that round two might not have that same, or it might be a different part in the market, right? And we could be talking completely different in 45 days from now if there's a flood of inventory that comes on.
Right. And if it is something, for instance, say mold, guess what? Now you got to change the seller's disclosure. We got mold. So now you're going to eliminate some buyers right off the bat.
So big things you're saying, don't try to do whatever you can to keep that deal together, because you don't want to have to re-put that on there and redisclose. Any parting thoughts? I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're at about 12 o'clock. Any parting thoughts or any tidbits from, again, specifically from the listing side and this competitive market where you're going to, net your sellers the best price in terms, but also show the biggest value, the most important thing, so everyone can take away with that?
I mean, once again, I think it starts on the listing appointment. It starts with, setting expectations. I pretend like, one of the first questions, when's the last time you sold a house? And if it's 15, 20 years, things have changed. Go into great detail over the process, the timeline. Sometimes people say, I've got 2 properties that I've listed and already sold last month, accepted offers, where they weren't going to put it on for a couple months because they thought, hey, look, if I put it up, then I got to be out in 45 days. And I explained to them, I said, look, you put it up for sale. Let's say we pre-market it, do all that good stuff. That's going to take us 3 weeks or whatever you want it to be. And then you put it up for sale, 45 days, 2 months to go to close. I mean, I'm getting occupancy, 90 days. People are in rentals. They're tired of looking. They'll give you whatever. And so just explaining the whole process, telling them you're going to sit with them and go over the offers. I do a net proceed sheet for them. Meet the appraiser. Tell them you're going to meet it. Okay? Because if you don't tell them, they're going to not, if you're going up against other agents and you don't say you're going to meet them, they're going to assume you're not. Okay, I've gone up against other agents and I start talking about meeting the appraisal net proceed sheet, and they're like, the other agent didn't talk about. First off, you're talking to another agent, but the other agent was probably going to do those things, but didn't say it. And it just meeting the. I go as far as when you hand over the keys, I'm meeting you. we're going to walk the property if there's a security deposit. Because if there's a problem, then we address it, figure out monetary value, and go off. If there's not a problem, we sign right there. Because you know and I know, all of a sudden the movers move in, they put a hole in the wall, that was the seller. You know, just, and I tell them, I'm just trying to protect you throughout the whole process. The other thing too that a lot of agents are doing is properties are selling in one day. Yes. I market the property until the day it closes. And this is what I tell them on the appointment for two reasons. I always want to have those backup deals just in case we have a problem with the inspection. I want the leverage. The appraisal, I want the leverage. Okay. I had one not too long ago, a week before close, they lost their job. And that's a hard phone call to make the seller. We got to give them the earnest money. They can't get a mortgage. But the good thing was I have a backup buyer and they netted more money. Okay. So I always tell them, look, I'm going to market till the day it closed. You won't see a sold sign on my listing unless it's closed. Now I can advertise myself. Hey, look, I sell houses, neighbors. But I do it for two reasons: to give leverage. The other thing that I do is now I'm picking up buyers and buyers agents that have buyers for a property like yours. So for my next listing, I've already generated potential buyers. And I've been doing that for a long time. So I might have people already for yours. So just trying to say things that are different. I mean, we're all real estate agents. We're going to put a sign in the ground. We'll put it on the MLS. How am I different? How am I different? And it's just going through the details. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, I've been to convention a lot and they're talking about going on listing. These big teams are going on listing appointments in a half hour. Hey, I'll camp out there. If it takes me 3 hours to sign stuff, I generated the lead and now I finally got it to where it needs to be. I'll stay there. Maybe I'm different. Everyone's different. So I'd rather say I got it at one instead I went on 5. You know, but
I love it, Jim.
For them to understand the process too. I mean, it really, to take the time, it really, you stick out. And that's what we're trying to do. And if you have a seller say you do that for 6%, and I've had a couple people say that. I mean, it's kind of hard to go, oh my God, geez, now I don't have to talk about commission.
Autumn Hicks just commented that she thinks Jim DiMora should have his own podcast.
You make more than real estate doing that?
No, I don't think so. Jim, thank you. There's no doubt of why you're not, you know, you're the top in your game. And I love the fact that you're so open book and willing to share. The things that you're talking about are really simple things, right? They are. You just have to do them, and you have to be professional, and you have to be willing to pick up the phone. Hey
man, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a real quick question. As a buyer's agent, you know, we were talking about the deadline. In my case, I've already lost out on 6 bids, and so I put a short deadline, not to put pressure on the lister, but in case my buyer finds another house within 2 days, because I don't want to wait 4 days to find out I'm being outbid again. So how is that a bad thing from a listing agent side?
Yeah, I don't know when you plugged in. We talked about that a little bit, about putting that deadline in. I think the listing agent, the impression that I got is it depends on what activity, right? On one hand, you might just get one offer, right? On the other hand, you might have a bunch of showings lined up, and you wouldn't be doing your seller the best service by accepting that first offer. So it's on a case by case basis, I think. Right.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Well, I guess that's what I was kind of getting at was in my like I just did. I put an offer in 2 days ago. I gave them a 24-hour notice. They said that they're making their decision on Thursday, which is fine with me. But should I go back and revise my deadline, or do I just leave it open so that I can still bid on a different house, I guess?
Well, I think that you always have the risk that, buyers are out there putting offers on multiple properties, right? Until they provide in writing that they've rescinded. I don't know. I always respond to offers, and I don't know what Jim does. I always respond to offers that have a deadline that I'm not going to be able to adhere to. It's just saying, hey, some agents will just let it come and go. Some agents are going to be clear and counter and saying, this is when we are making a decision if you'd like to revise it. I don't know. Jim, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, I would go back to him if he was the highest one and say, are your people still here at this terms, especially if it's an escalation clause? Clean up the purchase agreement, get it back to me as soon as possible. So if they're doing that, then yeah, they're in the game. They're in the game.
Yeah.
Let's just do the inspection quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. And I like that you said that is I'm not going to revise the PA. I want you to revise the PA and get it to me. If they spend 24 hours doing it, moving on. If they are on top of it, okay, those people still really want that house. I think we had one more question. Jim, what's the best way for you to present multiple offers? I know you printed them out, you highlight them. Do you create a spreadsheet? What do you like to have? It can be a little confusing to a seller, right?
Yeah. You sent me that Google whatever, and I couldn't open it. So do I make a spreadsheet? No, I print out the purchase agreement and I go through each one and I highlight the price and anything that I feel is so I can compare them. A lot of times, maybe I'll put a piece of paper on it and just say some of these agents, good buyers agents, here's my offer. We're offering this escalation clause, and they make it very user friendly. Now I do go through and make sure that all the terms are right there.
Sure.
But I highlight everything and I go and sit with them. And then I kind of break it down to the risk things. This one's waiving hey, you got two offers that are identical. One is saying they'll waive $10,000. The other one says they're waiving $15,000 on the appraisal. Less risk, and then you got to break down, you break them all down and then you ask the seller what, I always say, hey, look, I make a suggestion. You guys make a decision. And we'll have a conversation, but it's really nice to sit across from these people because you can read body language.
Sure.
Somebody's,
Sure.
And do you understand everything? And if they don't, you can feel it.
Yeah.
Here's a net proceed sheet.
Yeah.
This is what you're walking away. It's so easy when you go to close now. There's no surprises.
Yeah.
I mean, no surprises.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
Hey, Matt,
Jim.
real quick.
Yeah.
Command actually
Yeah.
does a nice spreadsheet for a highest offer or multiple offers. You can do it right in Command.
Well, Jim's going to have to learn that and teach us all a class. So
Yeah.
that's cool. That's
Yes,
awesome.
I've used that sheet. I've used that part of Command,
Very cool.
and you can send it to your sellers that way.
All right. Well, thank you, Lloyd. Thank you. All right. Well, I really appreciate, Jim, your time. Thank you again for pouring into the Market Center and for sharing your wisdom on behalf of everyone. Really appreciate it. And I know that if anybody has any listing questions, negotiation questions, Jim's willing to just call him. Don't text him or email him. Just give him a call. He's happy to help you. So we appreciate you. Have a great day, everyone. Talk to you soon. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Matt and Jim. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Great
you.
information.
Thank you, everybody.